All right, hello and welcome back, everyone. This is David with Faramir's Rangers, and today we're going to be talking about the units of Great Britain. Now, Great Britain is a great nation. There's a couple things that you can really take advantage of with the British Army, but first we're going to talk about the Navy. Just real quickly, there's not really a whole lot to discuss. It's just real simple. Great Britain, you're going to see that they have the fastest reloading units for their Navy in the game against any other Navy in the world. Now, their hull strength is also going to be better, and their speed is going to be on par with everyone else. France has the best. And then you're going to see their morale is also one tick above the rest and actually matched with the United States. So, and to top that off, with their units being better, you would think the cost would be higher. But no, that is not actually the case. Now, they are 20 more than the average unit here, you can see. They're not going to be more expensive than the French, who get a little bit of upgrades, nor the Russians or any of the other units other than Spain. They're the only one, well, actually Spain and America, but Great Britain, for what you get, they actually, I mean, the whole strength is going to be vastly superior to anyone else, and their reload. Those two factors make Great Britain's navies absolutely dread on the seas. Okay, so when we're talking about Great Britain as far as their land forces, there's a couple things that you have to keep in mind if you are playing Great Britain, whether it be in multiplayer or in a campaign in vanilla. There is a couple things, and even Darth Mod for that matter. Great Britain has extremely good firepower units. And what do I mean by firepower? That means their reload is on par with that of Prussia. Prussia has a little bit more of an advantage on them, but Great Britain can hold their own. And top that off, Great Britain's line infantry has the best defense in the game if they're in melee. So their attack is not so much, but their melee defense is where it's at. So you shouldn't go charging your units in. There are some specific units that Britain has that can do that, but for the most part, you're going to want to be in a firefight as Great Britain. That is the key. Now, let's start off by talking about Great Britain's light infantry. And you can't start that conversation out without speaking about the Ferguson riflemen. Now, why is that? Why do we need to speak about the Ferguson riflemen? Well, that is very easy to explain. As far as light infantry or rifles are concerned, they are the fastest shooting units, along with Wimbushé Jaegers, but you get 60 men with the Ferguson, and you're also able to lay stakes, which the Wimbushé Jaegers are not, and Wimbushés only have 45 men. Now, this unit is extremely deadly. You can see they have 35 reload. I can promise you that it is even greater than the number there. It is a force to be reckoned with on the battlefield. Ferguson riflemen are a unit that you're going to want to make sure it's got 125 range. You're going to want to make sure to keep that 125 range unless you can protect that unit. The closer you get, the more accurate it becomes, but you don't want to risk this unit. You want to try to keep that unit intact to let it expend all of its ammo, because their accuracy and their killing potential out of this unit is without a doubt one of the best units that you can field in the game. Also, with Great Britain, you're going to have another rifle unit that is just as good. Now with Ferguson's, one more note, you can only recruit 2, but with Green Jackets you can recruit as many as you want, and that would be the other 125 range unit you get as Great Britain. So what makes Great Britain great is not just the fact that they have the fast reload, but also they have a standard rifle, which is, again, the Green Jacket. The reload is 35, but it's not as strong as a Ferguson reload. That's where I'm saying these numbers can be very misleading. But one other factor about the Green Jackets is they do come equipped with a bayonet, which you can see their defense is going to be much higher than other rifle or light infantry units. And their morale is even 7. So real good morale, very good staying power unit. So if you're going to be fighting an opponent who has a lot of cav, Green Jackets are definitely a unit, although Ferguson's can shoot down those cav units quite well. Now also they do have a light infantry that's a 90 range, 55 accuracy, 30 reload. Not much to talk about there. It's on par with other nations' light infantry. Now with their standard infantry, there's only a few units we really need to discuss, and there's a couple controversial ones that we're going to talk about first, and that would be the 33rd Foot. Now, the 33rd Foot, although it has probably the sharpest looking uniform for a line infantry unit, it is actually not a very good unit for Great Britain. And why do I say that? Because the 33rd Foot is going to cost you more than a line infantry. And what do you get out of that extra cost and nicer looking uniform? You get 1 more morale instead of 8. With a standard line, you only get 9. You do get 9 with this unit, so that's really good. But you factor in it only has 25 reload. That's under what a Great Britain unit can do. And their accuracy, okay, sure, 70 range, 40 accuracy. It looks like a standard line infantry, but don't be fooled. The reload is less. Now, what do you get more? There should be something you get more. Sure, you do. And it's the melee attack. Instead of 6, you get 7, which is not that good. In comparison, France has way higher for their standard line infantry. So it's not, again, Great Britain. You don't want to go meleeing attacking units unless you're at the end game and you have a unit beat, or in specific situations. The ideal situation for Great Britain is to be in a shootout, and that's why this unit does not fit with their with a build that you might want. So, and even the defense only has 14. A standard British line has 15. And their charge bonus is only 9. That's the same as their regular line. And we'll take a look at their regular line for comparison. So a British line has 30 reload. And again, 15 defense. The charge bonus is the same as the 33rd Foot. Melee attack is just 1 less, and their morale is 1 less. So what that adds up to me is I prefer to have better firepower reload skill out of my units, and that's why I would prefer a line infantry. It's cheaper, and you're going to get better use out of it than you would a 33rd Foot. So that brings us to the King's Royal of New York, and again, looks like a standard line, really good uniform. The green and blue, it looks just sharp. 70 range, 40 reload. So yeah, everything looks good, right? Reload 25. That's a standard line infantry unit in Empire. So it can hold up against a standard line infantry of United Provinces or France, whatever, in a firefight. It's going to be equal to those units, but the problem is you're paying more than you would if you were France or United Provinces, so on and so forth. And you're getting, sure, a little bit more morale, but even their defense is another notch down, so it's 13 versus 33rd foot is a 14. Your melee attack is an 8, and your charge bonus is still a 9. So, again, I highly recommend that these units, sure, if you want to use them in a campaign, fine, but in multiplayer, definitely I would steer clear of using 33rd foot and a King's Royal. You can use that money that you save on recruiting those units and upgrade to a guard unit if you can, or a unit such as that. So let's look at their guards. Their guards are just a standard guard from any other nation. 70 range, 50 accuracy, 55 reload. We're not going to really go into this because, like I said, it's the same as any other nation. So there's not really much to talk about with their guards. But they have two other guard units that I think is pretty important to talk about. And that's the Black Watch, which in multiplayer, it only costs about $11.80. So that's a fairly cheap guard unit. And it has the 50 accuracy, the 40 reload, which is phenomenal. 15 ammunition, the melee attack of 9, charge bonus of 17, which is just tremendous. So this is definitely a melee unit if you want that for Great Britain. This is the unit you would want to throw a charge in. But again, even still, I would recommend not, because the 50 accuracy and the 40 reload, you're better off keeping this unit shooting. Okay, 11 morale, just a tremendous unit for cheap. And then that brings us to the Coldstream Guards. Okay, the Coldstream Guards, my friends, 70 range, 50 accuracy, 65 reload. This is actually another stat. 65 doesn't do it justice, I can promise you that. This is the fastest firing unit in the game. So this is a unit you want to keep shooting. No other unit can outshoot this unit. Okay, platoon fire, just like all the other guards. This unit will decimate an army. So it's, for a guard of this potential, it's still fairly cheap. So you can't go wrong with these two guard units. Can't say enough about them. Okay. Now, there's a couple other units I want to talk about. They have a couple other skirmishers that are light infantry. Fraser's Rangers. This is a really good unit for a 90 range unit. 60 accuracy, 25 reload is a little low for a light infantry. So you do get better accuracy, but they're a little slower on the reload. They're a little more methodical, I guess you could say. But they're fairly cheap for what you get. But again, it's a unit you want to shoot and then not stay in a sustained firefight with. You want to keep them back. You also get the Rangers, similar to France's Rangers. It's pretty much the same stats. 30 reload, 20 ammunition, 50 accuracy. Okay. That brings us to Rogers Rangers. Now, Rogers Rangers are a fairly expensive unit, but you get 65 accuracy, which is tremendous for a 90 range unit, 35 reload, and this is a really good unit. It also can stand up to melee. It has a really good melee attack, charge bonus of 11. It actually has 9 defense, so it's not horrible. And if it gets thrown into melee, if it gets cav charged, it can hold up fairly well. Now, it does only stay in a skirmish formation like the Rangers, but if you can adapt to that, it's not a bad unit. This in campaigns, I love using Rogers Rangers. They are a force to be reckoned with for what you get, and as helpful as they are in the woodland. Now, Great Britain's cav. Let's start discussing that. There's a couple things that we're going to get into. As far as melee cav goes, there's not really a whole lot to talk about here, guys. Reg of Horse, it's just the regular regiment of horse. A Blah light cav, and they got the Yemeni for another light cav. It's the basically militia cav. Now, as far as your heavy cav goes, they have a heavy cav unit. It's fairly expensive for what you're getting. Slower cav. Their horse guards are just phenomenal. You get them in melee, they can stay up against guard units, and again, slow moving units. So you don't want to. You want to be careful with these units. You don't want to throw them face first against line infantry. The bullets will take them down. You want to hit them after they volley. You want to hit line infantry from the side. You don't want to go forward into line. That's the key to melee cav, is never attack a line infantry from the front unless it has volleyed out and it's reloading. Lifeguards, again, really good unit. Very expensive. Melee attack 19, charge bonus 17. But again, melee cav for Great Britain, even their heavy cav, it is not going to be on par with some of the other nations that you're going to have heavy cav for. Poland, Lithuania as one. And then you're going to have Russia. You're going to have the Ottomans. All these other nations like that have much better melee cav. So Great Britain is not that nation. They're not a melee cav nation. Now, one thing that they do have in their arsenal for cav, which most nations do, is light dragoons. Okay, their light dragoons are going to be standard light dragoons, 60 unit for large size, and they have 25 reload, 50 accuracy. The discussion there is the same as the discussion we've had about light dragoons. Tremendous unit. Great Britain can field them. They also have Brunswick dragoons, and these can not shoot while mounted. So that is something that you need to be aware of. These are like a regular dragoon unit. You have to dismount them to shoot them. Okay, so that's a big disadvantage. Tarletons do fire mounted, but you have a drop off in accuracy. Reload is the same, but Tarletons is not going to be a more beneficial unit to have than a regular light dragoon unless you're in campaign. That's the only way I'd recommend using Tarleton and his band of dragoons. And of course you have the standard dragoon, which again you have to dismount for them to shoot. Okay, and the big key to regular dragoons is they only fire from the first rank. Okay, I've said this before in a couple of other videos, but you have to spread them into one line so that all the men fire. If you have them in 2 ranks, 3 ranks, the front rank is the only one that's going to fire. Okay, so that's a key thing to know about them. Now, discussing artillery, not a whole lot to discuss here, so I'm not going to really waste a lot of time. Great Britain has the standard artillery that you would get with any other nation. There's no real big difference there, so I don't think there's really anything that's necessary to discuss. I think I covered pretty much everything. All right, so I think that's going to go ahead and bring this video to a conclusion. Our next in this series will be over the Maratha Maratha Confederacy. If you did enjoy this content, please do leave a like and subscribe. It does help the channel as we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And once again, my friends, I do appreciate it. If you do have comments please leave them below of what your favorite units for Great Britain are. If you have any differences of opinions on what we discussed, let's do that in the discussion below. I think we can have some interesting topics and collectively get and pull our knowledge together on Great Britain. So anyways, I look forward to seeing your comments, and I will see you on a Maratha campaign next.